obviously then Sarr, then Skip, then Højbjerg. It just worries me a little bit, with that midfield.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. So, Dan, obviously, in terms of the United lineup, was that how you sort of wanted to be, or is that the best that United could scrape at short notice?
I'd say that was the best we could actually line up tonight. And, Ericsson was out of the Wigan game due to illness, so I was glad to have him back. But I felt like that it was the best team that Ericsson could put out with what he had available to him. But I just feel like that we just got completely out-muscled in that midfield. Ericsson, Bruno, and the young lad Mainu. We just got completely out-muscled in that midfield. And I feel that's what lost. It doesn't feel like a win, is what I'm saying. I think it's a very lucky point from United because Spurs absolutely dominated us, and the actual team, apart from the midfield and the defence, mainly Johnny Evans, but I feel like that it was just it was the best Ericsson I could do with what he's currently got available. And I think it's the same for Spurs as well. You've got players who are also unavailable due to either international duty or injuries as well.
Exactly, mate. So, I mean, it looks like you guys have got probably the same amount of injuries as us, sort of thing. So, I mean, if we go through your lineup to start off with, Onana, obviously your first team keeper. Wan-Bissaka playing at left back, which I was quite surprised about. Dalot right back. Varane and Johnny Evans, theoretically both players that you guys could probably do with not having playing for you at one point or another. Mainu, I think, looks like a good prospect for you guys, and I'm actually glad Ten Hag's playing him. Ericsson probably getting to maybe to the end of his career because he doesn't look anywhere near it. Garnacho, class player, in my opinion. Fernandes probably couldn't be bothered tonight, to be honest, to even be there. Rashford and then Højlund sort of thing. So, I mean, what main players would you say you guys were missing tonight, mate, in terms of starters?
Well, I'd say this is what's been our issue for majority of the season. I just want to quickly, I'll go back in a second, but I'll answer your question first. But, so many people have, in our fan base and for other fans who support different teams, Eric Ten Hag has received a lot of criticism this season because, we're struggling. We're currently, by 8th place or 7th place now? I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, if you ask any United fan who are our top 3 players from last season, they'll say Rashford, Casemiro, or Martinez. Rashford is in terrible form all season, and Martinez and Casemiro have been practically out injured all season. So when people would like to point the finger and say Ten Hag out, they don't actually think about what massive players we're currently missing. And for me, I feel like that United fans were so, a lot of us are so reactionary. I'm a young fan. I'm only 20 years old. I didn't have the privilege of watching the glory days. So my teenage years were the end of Sir Alex and, all the other shit we've dealt with for the last decade. So at the end of the day, I just personally believe that United fans are just very reactionary, very spoilt fan base. And no doubt if United somehow scrape maybe 5th or 4th place this year, if we do go on a decent run, so many other fans will be like, oh, I do believe in this manager and everything, but I'm one of them people where you stick with your opinion, you either Eric Ten Hag out or you Ten Hag in. And going back to your question, obviously, you made a little sly dig about Bruno. I didn't want to be here tonight. I knew this was going to come because Bruno has every single fan for every other team in the Premier League. Everyone hates him, but Bruno's one of them players where you want him on your team because he's that much of a nightmare. And I feel like that if Spurs had Bruno Fernandes, you'd be absolutely loving him. Like you have your own Bruno Fernandes, you have Richarlison, a diving, moaning git. So at the end of the day, I just personally believe that with Bruno, yes, I said it before, we got completely out-muscled in the midfield, and Bruno just wasn't in his most dangerous area, on the edge of the box, creating chances. He was just running around like a headless chicken.
Evening, Dave. How you doing, mate? How you doing?
Good evening. I'm well. How are we doing?
All good, mate. All good. Would you like to counter any of Dan's points that he just made there at all, mate?
Yeah, Bruno's a little bitch. That's probably the best way to put it. He is a little bitch, mate. He does my head in. Yeah, fair enough. I get kidology, right? I get the fact that players play the game and they can initiate contact and whatever else. And you can talk about Richarlison, diving or whatever you like, but you chuck a feather at Bruno, he's going to go down like he's been hit by a crane. I
did see Richarlison going down a bit too easy. Udoga as well when he tried getting a penalty on Garnacho.
The difference being, mate, right? Obviously, Dan is it, and Dan. The difference being is, they go down. It's kidology, but they don't go down. Roll over 20 times. Roll backwards the other way 20 times. Jump up, and then remember, oh no, I'm injured. Go back down, hold the ankle that's injured. That's the difference. Yeah, players go down. Udogi for that penalty didn't even ask for it. He didn't sit there with his arms up. He just got up. He didn't get it. He got up and carried on. So for me, like, Bruno is a great player. He's got so much ability. He's unbelievable. He can pick the lock of any defense with his ability, but he's a little bitch.
At least we're honest.
I'll try and play devil's advocate a little bit here, right? Because I get what Dan's saying. If you watch, there was a defensive header from Richarlison late on in the game where he backwards headers it, and then he's on the floor holding his head, and, until the whistle is gone, and then he gets up and you watch the replays and it was nowhere near that. And I get it. It's the only way I can describe it is like Bruno Fernandes is like Mikel Arteta. Like if he's part of your team, you probably love him. But when it comes to the other way, I was watching today and he was infuriating me for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what it is. I also think that potentially he has so much ability, Bruno Fernandes, but that action kind of lets him down from being kind of liked by multiple fan bases as opposed to just your own. But that's his own prerogative, right? Because he doesn't really care, and he cares about winning for the team that he's playing for. So I suppose that's what's important.
The thing about Bruno, right, is if he spent less time whinging and moaning, he could, in my opinion, be one of the best players in the world. He is that good. He is unbelievable, mate.
Yeah.
His range of passing, his vision, and everything. If he spent less time whinging, moaning, diving, crying, being a bitch, then he could be one of the best players in the world. As far as I'm concerned, you look at someone like James Maddison. James Maddison, obviously, is unbelievable. But if Bruno was to play in the same level as Maddison, in my opinion, Bruno have got more to his locker than Maddison. But Maddison doesn't whinge. He doesn't bitch, doesn't moan, doesn't cry, doesn't roll around the floor. All anyone knows James Maddison for is the fact that he's a good footballer. He's good at free kicks and he gets on with the game.
And he likes cards.
Yeah, and if you say to Bruno, you say to anyone, what do you think about Bruno Fernandes? What did 9 out of 10 people say? Oh my God, what a moaning whinger!
What a brilliant player!
Yeah, but the thing is, that comes after. That's
a secondary.
I say it before.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, let's get on to the game. Well, our lineup we knew was decimated at the best of times. We had rumours that we'd have Kulusevski back. We may have had Maddison in the squad for the game up there. Then we look at the bench. We've named 8 instead of 9 subs, 2 goalkeepers, and pretty much the best prospects that we have at the club at that level. So going into the game, I would have said that I thought that, our midfield was non-existent. We didn't know where we stood, where we were, what way was up, what way was down, and that we couldn't even scrape together some players. But Luke, where was your sort of thoughts towards our actual squad that we named and the bench as well, mate?
Yeah, I had no thoughts in my brain that Maddison would be back. We heard in the press conference that Kulusevski was ill, and so or was it yesterday? We heard anyway. Whenever it was, right? We heard that was good. Kulusevski wasn't going to be there, and that's kind of the biggest blow from that, I would imagine. In terms of the bench, I actually didn't notice until we started. We only had 8 on the bench, and but not the full amount. Because to be honest, mate, I don't go around counting how many players are on the bench. I just look at it and go,
was sat there in a kit, mate.
Huh?
Ryan Mason was sat there in a kit. That's how short we were.
I thought Potts was going to run off at one point.
Yeah, it's nice to see some of the young prospects on the bench. been nice to see them get a few minutes rather than potentially the likes of Brian Hill late on. But no, you know what? Like, I think the lineup was solid, bar a decent midfield. You know, bar that kind of Skip Højbjerg midfield. I thought that the lineup was pretty decent.
Exactly. But I think that was the best we could put out, weren't it? Unless you was literally going to put, like you said, Mason, Chris Davis on the pitch, Rob Birch, the goalkeeping coach, people like that.
I would have rather played Milan Jedinak than Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
Oh, wow. Really, Dave? You was really that against
today,
him?
He was awful, Højbjerg, today. He was awful again. Did anyone see the bit where he picked up the ball in there by their box, turned around, started sprinting towards our half, fell over and ran the ball out of play? Did anyone see that?
Yeah. There was no pressure on him, was there? There was no pressure on him whatsoever.
Juventus, come take him, please. Please come take him.
Well, I heard a wacky one that apparently the Ajax were looking at him this week as well, and I was just like, really? There's no... Why does anyone want him? We don't even want him.
Ajax are really struggling.
He'd look good in an Ajax team, though, because they play that 5-yard passes.
That's very true.
That tippy-tappy, don't they? So he'd look good in that team. But he doesn't look good anywhere else. He's grown his hair, which is more stupid.
Got one here for you, Dave, from Jay. Would you take Calvin Phillips over Højbjerg?
Oh, 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Jeez, I'd take a one-legged Calvin Phillips over Højbjerg. You know, I'd take a two-legged donkey over Højbjerg. I cannot explain to you how much that guy infuriates me. There was another point as well during the match where we were attacking, and instead of playing a simple pass, he tried some weird pass across the box up over the top and just rolled out of place for goal kick. I was like, what is this guy doing? I don't get it. Is his hair in his eyes? He can't see what he's doing, or what's the point? I can't. Look, Dan, you probably never met me before, mate, but as you can probably tell, I dislike Højbjerg very much. Very much.
I I'm McTominay, so you're not the only one who has a player with V8.
I would rather have McTominay than Højbjerg, to be honest, with Spurs.
Take him. I'd rather have Højbjerg than McTominay.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I want to know, Dan, actually, what are your thoughts from an outsider's perspective on, Højbjerg, especially today, looking at him? Because from my angle, if you compare him to a Bentancur today, so Bentancur has the ability to drop a shoulder, twist the body, create that yard of space, play progressive passes, rather than Højbjerg's efforts at that always come short. And maybe it's that our standards are much higher now. But I want to know kind of what your thoughts are.
I feel like from my perspective, Højbjerg, because Spurs under Postecoglou plays such attacking football, and I believe Højbjerg's been at Spurs now for quite a few years now, so you might have already seen previous poor performances from different managers. But I feel like that in such an attacking system like Postecoglou's and for Spurs how they play now, the more defensive players kind of get overlooked, and doing the simple things is not appreciated, because you've got Udogie, you've got Puro, you've got Bentancur running up and down the pitch all game. Obviously, that's very noticeable. I thought Højbjerg was very physical on the likes of Mainu, Eriksen, and Bruno today. I felt like he did really well in his job. Obviously, there were a few issues where you could say United targeted him because he also was a bit of a weak link in that midfield. But I don't think he had a terrible performance today. I think that the Spurs completely dominated us in the midfield. We lost the midfield battle today, and I feel like Højbjerg should take some credit for that, in my opinion.
I think
it's definitely interesting.
One of the other reasons you lost the midfield battle was because you had Eriksen and Mainu versus three men. That's the thing. Fernandes was playing so high up against Van de Ven and Romero that you had 3-on-2. That's the thing. And even with Mainu being very physical and Eriksen kind of being creative, I don't think Eriksen never had legs in him for us, let alone playing for you guys. He wasn't a quick player. He wasn't someone who could combat in the midfield. He was a lock picker like Fernandes now. So to play him in, was he a number 6 or a number 8 role for you guys today was quite interesting, to say the least, to actually see.
Yeah, I mean, with this system that Ten Hag likes to play, I do believe that Eriksen isn't a part of the starting 11 that Ten Hag wants. If all players are available, Eriksen doesn't get in the starting 11. We saw it in pre-season for United when we beat Arsenal, where we all have something in common. We love beating Arsenal. But at the end of the day, though, United beat Arsenal 2-0, and our midfield three was Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, and Kobbie Mainoo. But Kobbie Mainoo got injured during pre-season. He was out for until I think it was October or early November or something. And I just feel like that Eriksen, obviously, he died and then came back to life and then started playing for United. Won a trophy before Spurs. Not to rub it in, but you know.
Well, we're going to fall out, Dan.
But at the end of the day, mate, Eriksen isn't the future. We saw today he's got 60 minutes in him before his legs go. And personally, for me, I would have brought him at McTominay for either Eriksen or Mainoo at half time. I just feel like that Mainoo, it was just too big of a game for him. I think the midfield were way too physical. I think Mainoo really struggled. He is a very good prospect, but I'm not going to sit here giving him stick either because he is only 18, 19 years old. So
he's unbelievable, mate. He's unbelievable, mate.
Exactly. I feel like he's a very good prospect and we've got a very good one for the future here. But I just felt like today was a bit too tough for him today. Same with Garnacho. Udogie absolutely pocketed Garnacho tonight. You know, we didn't see the best of Garnacho. Udogie beat him for every sprint, every shoulder to shoulder. I feel like Ten Hag should have maybe swapped them around at half time. You know, Rashford and Garnacho. Maybe try Garnacho on Porro, but maybe we could have got a result from there. But no, I forgot what the question was now.
Can I say something, Dan, really quickly? This is where we're different, mate. So you said in your words then, if it was me, I would have bought on McTominay for Eriksen at half time. I wouldn't bring Højbjerg on. I'd rather play with 10 men.
There you go. That's fair then, mate. That's fair.
It's interesting though that you mentioned about switching the wingers because we were chatting on WhatsApp at half time, and we were worried about Marcus Rashford on Pedro Porro. So to then suggest that I can understand why, right? To try and get a bit more luck out of Garnacho, but then you could end up stifling Marcus Rashford from there. Like I can't get over how odd, and I don't look like a good looking guy, but how odd Garnacho looks, man. It reminds me of a fucking mannequin, that fella. It's unreal.
Looks like a vampire.
It's the cheek goals, isn't it? He just looks like he's got no white body fat on him at all.
Right, so let's get down to it with the game. So 3 minutes in, and United are 1-0 up, and I think, Dan, is that Højlund's first Premier League goal? Second. Now is it? Second. So after being dog crap all season, pile of trash, not even worth the 90 million you paid for him, and somehow he's managed to score against us. Good goal for United or shit defending by Spurs?
Well, I said this in my match reaction, which is posted now while I'm on air. But no, I feel like that United fans like to moan about how Højlund doesn't get a lot of service. And we saw it with the first goal. Rashford, very selfishly, saw Højlund was free, decided not to pass and just take him on and run past Højlund. Højlund moves out of the way and Udogie just clatters into Rashford. And Højlund very intelligently takes the ball and just rifles into the back of the net. No keeper's going to save that. It was a brilliant power shot. And when you give Højlund them chances, he will score goals. We saw it in the Champions League, and it's just under the Premier League where there's so much physicality and so much speed. I think he's just getting used to it. But Garnacho and Højlund, there's only 8 months difference between their age. And Højlund, I feel like Garnacho gets so much less stick than Højlund does because obviously Garnacho's from our youth setup and United paid, I think it was 60, 70 million we paid for Rasmus Højlund. But at the end of the day, I'm giving Rasmus Højlund time. I think he's a very brilliant upcoming prospect. United finally have a striker that's not almost retiring. We've had Cavani, we've had Ronaldo, Vegas, if you want to count in. But, we've had a lot of terrible strikers in recent times, and I'm actually excited to have a striker like Rasmus Højlund. So all the fans who want to give him stick, I feel like that if he was in your team, you'd be doing what I'm doing. You'd be supporting him, and you'd be hoping that when he gets enough service and once he gets used to the style of the Premier League, he'll be competing for the Golden Boot, I believe. I think he's got that much of a higher ceiling.
Okay. So, Luke, obviously, we was messaging in the group chat about the first goal, and we said Pedro Porro shit at defending again for that one, caught out of position and not being able to pick it up. Do you think it was a good goal, or was it actually Spurs just letting United have one there?
I think it's like a comedy of errors. I think it's like a few things that happen in that, as Dan said. Like if Højlund doesn't move, he'll take a step the other way. Rashford doesn't continue with the ball. Like, let's say Højlund then takes it off Rashford, right, and tries to kind of go the other way. That goal doesn't happen. It only happens because he steps out the way and the ricochet goes into Højlund's path. I don't think Højlund's the worst player in the world. Like, he scored, as you say, a few goals in the Champions League this season. He looks all right. It's one of those interesting ones, isn't it? Because City go out and get Haaland, and then United come in and get a Haaland from Wish. That's the way I look at it. But no,
it's a bloke that sounds like. Was it the City when we want the good one? No. Haaland, we'll go Man United. We'll go and get someone that sounds like Haaland, but he's a bit of a Højlund. There we go.
I keep sticking up for Darwin Núñez, so I'll stick up for Højlund a little bit longer. I think that both players are decent. I think that they just need. It does take a little bit of time to get used to the Premier League. You can see he's a good finisher. And also from the run that he made against, I think it was Mickey van der Ven, late on, where he did a little kind of Cruyff turn and carried on the run. I thought that was sensational play and just a little glimpse of what he could potentially do.
Okay. Dave, where do you stand on the first goal, mate?
If I could show you my phone screen, you'd see where I stand on the first goal. I was not happy, mate, at all. I just thought, here we go, Old Trafford, Tottenham, comedy show. Pedro Porro made a right mess of it. And I made a mess of my phone screen. So that tells you what I mean of what I think of the first goal.
If you can't show us your phone screen, is there a hole in your wall or something like that where there's evidence of it?
There's a hole in my door. Hang on. There's a hole in my door. I wonder if you can see it.
Like the tiniest hands in the world, like a little T-Rex.
Me? My hands are huge, mate. Look at this. That's where my phone hit the door.
I was wondering.
But I was not happy. My wife was not happy, and I'm in the doghouse. But other than that, I thought it was a good game.
Yeah. Okay. So, first half was not the greatest for up until roughly the first 20 minutes went pretty slowly until an excessive use of corners, I would say, from us, where we couldn't hit a barn door from 2 yards away, but somehow still managed to whack it off a United defender, put it out, and Porro actually did something useful, I would say, in the game compared to everything else. Lovely swung in ball, misses the first man and the second man, and Richarlison's there to step up and put it in the far bottom corner. So I'm going to go to Luke first. What was your thoughts? Yeah. Was you jumping up and down? Was you wanting to start drinking again? Was you thinking that we was actually going to get something?
I don't not drink. I just, like to, have a little bit of time off it now and again. But no, so I think Porro, like, for all his defensive frailties today, he was outstanding in other areas as well. Like, I felt like every single set piece today was good from him. I felt like his, corners were brilliant. His in-swingers, out-swingers. Before the goal for Richarlison, we had one cleared off the line from Bentancur. After the Richarlison one, obviously Romero hit the crossbar. So I felt like the corners were great. I felt like we exploited a United frailty where they were a little bit smaller than Spurs today. But, Richarlison did well, and fair play to him. I'm not his biggest fan, but he was probably the best player for Spurs today, I think.
I think that's about 10 in 10 now, isn't it? About 10 goal involvements in his last 10 games for us. So quite an impressive stat, considering that he only started kind of coming into form roughly end of November. And like you, mate, I'm not his biggest fan. We know that Harry adores him and loves him. But he is doing bits for us, and it's players like that who have to step up when people like Maddison, Son, Kulu are out, and you kind of hope that he can do something. So, Dan, coming to you, mate, was you frustrated that United couldn't defend set pieces today at all?
We've struggled with it all season. It seems that earlier in the season, but the very first game when Onana clattered that Wolves player, which should have been a penalty, he's not come out for another cross since because it's like scared of it happening again or something. It's like he got PTSD or something. But at the end of the day, when we come to defending corners, we're absolutely terrible when it comes to defending all set pieces. I feel like we just panic in the box. That goal for Richarlison and that chance for Romero where he headed it against the crossbar, none of our players jump. You know, everyone expects someone else to jump for him, and it's just a bunch of scarecrows just stood in the box, and Richarlison has a free header. I just felt like that when it comes to set pieces. I mean, Luke said there that how great Porro was on set pieces tonight, and I just felt like that United have just been so terrible on set pieces recently when it comes to taking them and defending them. You know, I just felt like Spurs really capitalised tonight, and every time Dalot made a great tackle and it would go out for a corner, I wouldn't be like, right, okay, we've got a chance here to break out or something. I was terrified because you were very, very relentless when it came to that in-swinging ball on the right wing. That was when it seemed like to be causing United the most issues. When Porro was making the cross that was going towards the goal, not away from the goal, that was when you were doing the most danger from your corner and set pieces. So I don't know why you didn't target that area more, in my opinion. But yeah, I felt like Spurs very clinical today when it came on set pieces. You could have got, I mean, that Romero chance, I don't know how he didn't score from there.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So, like Luke said, obviously, Porro's skills are definitely free kicks, crossing the ball. I mean, he's one of the best crossers of the ball that I've seen in the Premier League for a number of years, to say the least. And obviously, his corners were very good today. So, Dave, do you think Spurs should have used that more to our advantage, do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, United have got a 40-year-old Johnny Evans at centre-back. He probably can't jump. You know, so, and then they're subbed in for Martinez, who's like 4'9" or something like that. So the reality of it is we should have targeted that area consistently. We got Van der Ven, who's very big, but Romero is very good in the air. And we did, to be fair, we did hammer the door and knock the door with corners. Every time we got a corner, I thought this is a real chance there. Porro defensively today was a liability. I think I said that in our WhatsApp. But you know, his delivery's got him 2 bonus points on FPL, so I'm very happy.
Well, as long as it helps your FPL, it still puts you at the top of the league, I would say, probably something like that. And yeah, I'm still festering down in 15th, I think, maybe even 16th. You never know.
I've actually got a question for Dan, if you don't mind me.
Yeah, go, mate. Go, mate.
A couple of things, Dan. Just one word answer first. Would you rather have Ange or Ten Hag at United?
Ten Hag.
Interesting. I want to find out why in a minute, but. How do you feel as a United fan about the direction United are going in? Do you feel like you've got any style of play, any rhythm of play? Can you see an identity, or do you feel like you're a bit lost like all the other United fans?
No, because unfortunately, I'm one of the few United fans that have the brain, to be honest. I can see what we actually want to do. And like I said before, you know, if you ask any United fan who were United's best 3 players last season, they'd say Rashford, Martinez and Casemiro. Rashford's been in terrible form this season, and Casemiro and Martinez have been out practically all season. So considering they were our 3 best players last season, they've hardly been at the best or available this season. We've really, really struggled. And last season, we won the Carabao Cup. We got to an FA Cup final, and we finished 3rd in the Premier League. So, and I was in Ten Hag's first season, by the way. So I don't see Postecoglou getting 3rd anytime soon. So that's why I back Ten Hag. But all jokes aside, I just personally believe that United are very impatient, and we've got players who in our starting 11 that there's no chemistry between our players at the moment. You know, there was times where Onana had the ball and we were going to set up for a counter-attack, and then you had Wan-Bissaka, Dalot, Varane and Evans all just stood next to Onana, and then you had Mainu sitting in front of Onana. I saw as soon as Vicario had the ball for Spurs today, you had the fullback sprinting forward, the players were spreading out wide and stuff, and that's what playing out from the back means. But United, I don't think, has the confidence to do that at the moment. And then, like we said before, with Bruno Fernandes and Rashford, I think they were very wasteful in their chances. United could have won today. We weren't the better team. United were very static today, and Spurs were like a bolt of lightning. Your Spurs should have won this game. Let's be honest. But United did have the chances. But if we were clinical enough, we could have also snatched the game as well. But I feel like a draw was the right result for both teams. But Spurs did dominate us today. I will admit that.
One more question, Cal. One more question. I'll let you take back over.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
Just really quickly. You obviously talk. I know you mentioned about the fullbacks at Tottenham bombing forward when Vicario got the ball, but you also mentioned he'd rather take Ten Hag over Postecoglou. With Postecoglou, that is a given. That's what you do. Doesn't matter who you are, what player you are, what system it is. That's what you do. Do you feel that it maybe is not a case of they can't do it, but they won't do it at Ten Hag? Do you think it's more of a case of the players are, because there's no way Wan-Bissaka and Dalot, they're both good fullbacks. They're both quick. They can both get up the fullback. There's no way they wouldn't be able to do that. So do you think it's more of a case of they won't do it or they can't do it?
Well, it's a good question, but I'm a fan who says they actually want to stick with a manager more than 3 years. And there's players who are still in this team who started tonight and are still in the squad who have let down previous managers who have been sacked, the likes of Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The list goes on. There are still players here, post Sir Alex Ferguson, who have just let down so many managers. And I just feel like that I'm at the point now where I'd rather us stick with a manager, whether he succeeds or not, and we actually back a manager. And I think there's just way too many players here that just need to go. And I would rather see certain players go before Ten Hag. But United right now for the last decade, we're like a hamster who've been on a hamster wheel. We're trying to get a little bit of water, but you just do just running around, and it's just a one constant loop. And I just believe that it's very frustrating to be a United fan as well, because we know how good certain players are. Obviously, Dave, you said before about how good Bruno Fernandes is, but he has that one trait, which is being very petulant, which is what lets him down for being such a world-class player. I feel like we United have a lot of them traits in the players, very impatient players, very petulant players, and I feel like that them little traits can be managed out of them. But I just feel like the players as well, maybe they are giving up on Ten Hag, and maybe that's what the cycle is at United. Maybe that's what the DNA is at United at the moment. If you can't be bothered, the manager goes before you do, and your job's safe because you're going to be here when the next manager's here. And that's why I think so many players don't fight for the badge anymore.
I think petulant.
So what would you do? Sorry, if you were the United manager then?
Well, I'm not, so I'll play career mode. So does that count?
No, I don't mean who would decide. What I mean. I kind of like, how do you get? We've had times at Spurs, right, under Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho. Where we've kind of felt this as well. A little bit of kind of egotistical idiots, in the dressing room. People that only care about themselves more than they care about the club. Now we're seeing a complete shift in that, and that's due to kind of a manager coming in and sorting certain players out. But what do you do at United to get them back where they are? Because I feel like excuses can be made regarding signings and whether you have better enough players and things like that. But Ten Hag has had his pick of players when it comes to who he's wanted recently. So what do you do to kind of turn this United around?
Well, if I was a United manager, I'd expect that I'd have an actual club to come to. Ten Hag so there's a story about Ten Hag that when he was still managing Ajax, he was getting his list ready for his transfers at Man United when he was going to join in the summer. And when he arrived at Man United, the club hadn't sent any scouts out for Ten Hag's players, and he sent that list before he was actually officially United manager. So that just tells you one of many situations United are run as a club. We're terribly run as a club, and hopefully with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who was in the crowd tonight at Old Trafford, hopefully he will bring some sort of change. You saw him at Old Trafford tonight, which was brilliant. I'm pretty sure that a few United fans will be waiting for him and stuff to ask him questions tonight. But if I was United manager, I'd build it around the youth, because let's be honest, that's what United are known for. Under Fergie, building around young players, and that's kind of a given now. You use young players, they become your great players, and then you bring in younger players, and they learn off the more experienced and brilliant senior players. But if it was up to me, I'd be getting rid of quite a lot of players. But the players I'd probably keep right now, I'd keep probably Garnacho, Højlund, Martinez, Bruno Fernandes, and Mainu. They'd be the 5 players if you get rid of every other player, you can keep 5 players. They'd be the 5 players I've kept. I feel like Onana. I don't understand this signing. We've conceded 51 goals in 4 months. Like that doesn't sound real. But in 4 months, we've conceded 51 goals. I'd understand if we got Onana on a free or something like that, or we swapped David De Gea for Onana or something. I still wouldn't be happy with it. But we let David De Gea go, who was the Golden Glove winner of the Premier League last season, and we get some absolute donkey who, he made he was Inter Milan finalist in the Champions League. He must be a good keeper. He's fucking shite. I've looked on Traveloo, whatever it's called, to find out when Onana's fucking flight is to AFCON. I can't wait to see the back of him. I just want to see a different goalkeeper between the posts for United because I have no confidence in him whatsoever. The saves, the goals that we conceded tonight were the worst chances. David De Gea would save him. I'm going to say it. And you look at Nick Pope, how much respect he has for Newcastle fans. Yes, he struggles with his distribution, but he's a world-class keeper, and that's exactly what David De Gea was for us. And David De Gea was not only a brilliant goalkeeper, he was a club legend. And I think the way how he left United is a disgrace, in my opinion.
No, that's fair, Dan. That's fair. So, if you was to have a choice of, obviously, both of us, Spurs and United, got their keepers from Syria in the summer. We obviously got unknown in Vicario. We all probably had to Google his name, all of that stuff. Obviously, I knew him from Football Manager, so what can I say? I knew about him, but as the guys know. And obviously you guys, yeah. What? And obviously you guys got Onana. If you was to go back 6 months and you had thinking about it now, would you have a Vicario or an Onana, mate? Because, like you said, Onana's shite. He's really crap.
Let me find you something. 1 second. Where is it? I made a video on Vicario. There it is. I made a video saying top 5 replacements for David De Gea, and I scouted David Raya from Brentford when he was still there, Diogo Costa from Porto, Vicario for when he was at
Empoli, yeah.
Mignan from AC Milan because he's a brilliant keeper, and then Gregor Kobel from Dortmund, who's turned out to be one of the best keepers in the world at the moment if you've watched Dortmund recently. Mm-hmm. So Onana wasn't on that list, and I didn't even consider Andre Onana. As I did a scout report looking at many different keepers. And look what's happened, Vicario is such an underrated keeper. For me, he's probably going to be goalkeeper of the season. If he had kept a few more clean sheets, he'd have the respect of so many other rival fans, you could say. He's better than, I think he's, honestly, you've got probably one of the top 4 keepers in the league, in my opinion.
Onana's decent with his feet, though. To be fair, I'll give Onana that. His pass distribution from the back is probably up there with some of the best.
Onana's really good at? One thing Onana's really, really good at?
Gambling.
Conceding goals for Lucas Moura in Champions League semi-finals.
Oh, don't. Evening, Mr. Scruffy. How you doing, mate?
Harry.
Did you? Hi, I thought I'd jump on. You all right?
How we doing?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, mate. All good.
Big up, Dan. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you. You said a draw. You called it. So.
Yeah, there we go. Actually, prediction I got right. I think I claim that. Don't get that enough.
Right, so let's get on to the second half. So within 50 seconds, we come out. Ten Hag ain't even sat down. He's still trying to warm himself up from the lovely Manchester weather. And Bentancur picks up the ball brilliantly from Timo Werner, puts into the net. So,
we're not going to talk about Rashford nutmegging Udogie, no?
Oh, yeah, don't forget Rashford goal.
We're not going to talk about that, no? Or is it straight on to Spurs goals?
Well, this is a Spurs podcast, mate. You're just a guest.
Dan, we can say it. There you go. You said it. Now on to the Spurs goal. So, Harry, what was your thoughts, mate? What was your thoughts on Bentancur's goal?
I think it's really nicely taken. It was the start to the half that we needed because, not being funny, the first half was good. I thought United were up for it, but I thought we looked really strong. And I was going, how are we behind at half time? It's frustrating. We needed to start strong, get the goal. And it happened so early. It's really nicely taken, very sharp from Bentancur. Looks like a player getting back now to full fitness, which is great to see. Glides with the ball, really nice finish. So perfect start to the half, Callum. Can't complain.
Luke, you was obviously quite like me at half time, pissed off. H. We was very annoyed at half time. We was very frustrated how it went, and obviously we was 2-1 down by that point as well. So, what did you think about coming straight out and scoring within 2 minutes of the restart?
Yeah, I think it was perfect. Perfect thing that that we needed to do at that point was to start the second half strongly and fast, and we did that brilliantly. I felt like Timo Werner was decent today. I felt like you saw glimpses of Chelsea days. A few shots that kind of went wayward and whatnot. There was one chance he had when he went through and dragged it wide, annoyingly. But I felt he looked sharp, but as sharp as somebody who hasn't started a game for a few months would look. And I felt like his assist, back into Bentancur was weighted perfectly. It just meant that run could be carried on and he could sort the ball home. I felt like, really, really good start from Spurs. It just really annoyed me that that we didn't push on from there, annoyingly.
Exactly, mate, exactly. So, Dan, from a opposition point of view, I've got 2 questions for you. So, first off, what did you think of actually going down and conceding within 2 minutes of the restart? Because you would have thought Ten Hag would have got them in at half time and gone, right, we're 2-1 up, we're going to go, we've got to keep going, we've got to do this. And then also, obviously, United were linked with Timo Werner for the best part of the last 6 months as well. So to have him assist against you guys on his debut as well, how did that make you feel as well, mate?
Very frustrating because, like I said before about certain United fans, when United were linked to Timo Werner, so many fans were like, what are we going for him for? He's absolutely pony. And I was just there like, hang on a minute. We've got Anthony Martial sitting on the bench who's built like a bloody poppadom. Like, at the end of the day, Timo Werner is miles better than Anthony Martial. So I don't know why. I just don't know why. Like, this is what I was talking about, how certain United fans are very spoiled. Like, how we'll get linked to a player and they'll be like, oh, he's not good enough for Man United. We're Man United. We should be going for the best players.
Yeah.
Over a decade ago, lads, you don't understand what position we are in right now. We need to get players who are better than what we've currently got. It doesn't matter if they're world class or up and coming or just just do a job like Timo Werner will for you guys. Like, you can probably admit that when Son's back and Maddison are back and all your key players, like Timo Werner will be a bench player for you guys and be an impact player off the bench. But at the end of the day, he's come in today and he's got an assist and got you the equaliser. Or was it the first goal? Do you know what I mean? He did well for you. He was up and down the game. He's very fast and he likes to play Fortnite, if you've seen the clip. But at the end of the day, I just believe that Timo Werner was very good today. It was nice to see him back in the Premier League. And I just think he's a very underrated player.
Exactly, mate, exactly. I thought we actually played well down that left-hand flank with Udogi today, or Udogi, if I can pronounce it right, as I always manage to screw that one up. Udogi, who knows? I'm crap with names, let's put it that way. Yeah, so obviously a very good start to the second half, and it made all the difference by the look of Ange coming out and giving it. He celebrated quite well compared to Ten Hag not even knowing that it happened, to say the least.
More than he normally would. Like, you don't ever see Postecoglou celebrate very often. It was odd. I don't really know why he was so happy.
I do know why. I don't know if you watched his post-match interview after the game. He spoke about it.
I missed that bit.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, because he said because he's so proud of the players because of how unwell they've been all week. He said Udogi had a virus, Gippy had a virus. That chucked players straight back in the team. Van der Ven straight after injury, Romero straight after injury because players were struggling. Emerson was struggling. So he was really proud of the tenacity to be able to keep going. The mental stamina pretty much to be able to overcome it and play for the team. So that was why he was so happy, and that's why he turned around to
nice to hear.
He turned around to Ryan Mason because Ryan Mason's been working on corners with Pedro Porro.
This reminds me kind of, it might be a little bit before your time, H, and maybe even Dan's. It sounds like Lasagna Gate. Sounds like that Poxy Lasagna Gate game and all that, where everyone was ill, looking like they was ready to throw up, couldn't feel the team, all of that stuff. And it was interesting to hear that, because apparently Mason's been doing set pieces with all of the players all season. And because who was it that used to do it before for us? Was it Giovanni Vio? I think it was, who had he had like 4,000 different set pieces on how to attack a ball, just not how to defend a ball. I don't understand how you can be a set piece coach but only focus on offensive instead of all round. I think the guy was a bank manager before football.
Used to take set pieces for us.
No,
it was weird that you would put him on set pieces.
He got injured from a corner, didn't he?
Yeah. When he fractured his skull, weren't he, against Chelsea, was it?
From a corner, I was watching the match actually. So he got injured from a corner. It was like
someone who wasn't a set piece taker on set pieces.
Maybe it's Ryan Mason
trying to role for him somewhere, I suppose, isn't you? Put you on corners, lad.
That's the thing. I mean, he's got quite a young coaching staff, hasn't he? I mean, the eldest is probably Chris Davis, and he's only late 40s, something like that. So, I mean, Ange never likes to have the same coaching staff. He always goes to a new club, new setup, redoes it all. And obviously, Mason was already there as an attacking coach for us. We had Rob Birch there, and I think Matthew Wells as well through the 21s and 23 setup. So the only new one that really came in was Chris Davis and Ange. So you never know.
And Jedinak.
Oh, and Jedinak as well. So, I mean, Jedinak's probably the youngest apart from Mason on there, I think, anyway. He's still even doing his coaching badges, I believe. But no, I mean, we've scored a lot of set piece goals this year. So, I mean, if Mason's doing a lot of work with them, it's paying off. And all that, we're not conceding as much either, I don't think, from set pieces.
Maybe you photocopy Matey Boy's book.
Yeah. Can I just interject really quickly? I'm going to have to shoot. I've got to go. But I wanted to say a quick mention, and I never thought I'd say this in my life, but good luck to Eric Dyer leaving to Bayern. Because
this is a different Dave. I know Dave's tired, but wishing Eric Dyer good luck. Dad will leave you good luck next.
I'm not finished yet. Hang on. Good luck to Eric Dyer, because I don't have to see your shitness on a Tottenham Hotspur football pitch anymore, and I'm delighted. And I can't wait till I can say the same about Højbjerg. But other than that, boys, I love you very much. Listen, I'll catch up with you all soon, Dan. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you, mate.
Thank you, mate. See you later. Bye. Right, so obviously, we'll go on to transfers at the end of the show in light of what's happened this week. But no, so obviously the whole way through second half, I think that the key moments that sort of stack out for me was a lot of misplaced passing from Højbjerg in the midfield, Pedro Porro with defensive frailties, and a lot of corners that were there, and United and Spurs not being able to hit the target as cleanly as we probably should have done, because I think, like Dan said earlier, there was a lot of chances for both teams to take it. And even though Spurs were the better team, probably for 70 minutes, United did have their chances. And if they had taken them, it could have been a whole different scoreline. So, H, what do you think, mate? What do you think for the second half?
I thought it was really entertaining second half. Overall, I'm very happy with the point, all things considered, because, going behind twice, going there with half a team, not being funny. And what I find interesting, Callum, is the transformation in under a season for me. It's unreal. Just think about this for a second, right? Last season, we go to Old Trafford, we go behind, we lose the game. This year, we go behind, we get a draw with half a team, and we were all going, we could have won that. The standards from last year going, we went into the game, we lose this, let's move on to the next one. It's Man United. We don't stand a chance here. So for me, what has changed in the year is really impressive, the whole mentality and the mood around the club. Were United there for the taking defensively? Yes. Could we have got 3 points? Yes. But at the end of the day, when you're missing, for me, your two most creative players in Kulusevski and Maddison, it's never going to be easy when you're missing your most lethal goal scorer in Son. It's never going to be easy. So overall, I was very happy with that. Second half, very eventful. I think it was a case it got to 2-2, and both teams, in particular Spurs, didn't want to take that risk and come away with nothing. For United, it's a case of they can't fall any further behind Spurs and can't fall any further behind this top four race. They can't risk that and come away with nothing when they were winning the game. For Spurs, you can't take that risk, come away with nothing, and before you know it, you've got Man United behind you and Chelsea not that far either. So it was a case of both teams, for me, wanted a point in the end. I think overall, Spurs will be happy with the point, but again, it was there for the taking. So an eventful second half, maybe not as much as the first half, but at the end of the day, the second half is my favourite because first half we went in 2-1 down, finished 2-2. Second half can't be that bad. So yeah, all good.
Exactly. So Dan, if I come to you, mate, because obviously H has made some quite good points, but obviously they are more towards Spurs-related stuff compared to the United side. And if it was me as a United fan, I'd have probably been more happy watching the first half compared to the second half. But going on what he mentioned about the top four, how far you guys may be pulling behind, not wanting to go for it, not wanting to take the risk. Do you think that was the case? Or do you think that, like you said, this was what you had available and you couldn't do much more than you actually did today?
Yeah, I do believe that United could still compete for top four. I have spoken to quite a few United fans and they've all called me delusional. But if you look at the league table this season, it's very, very close. There's only from between United and the top place now, there's only, I think it's 12 points difference. That's only four games of a win. Do you know what I mean? This time, you could say 2 years ago in the Premier League, you probably have City and Liverpool up there with nearly 60 points at this moment in time. But this is why the Premier League is the best league in the world, because you've got so much competition for places, and we see. Once a team goes on a run and it goes on a winning streak, that's what that determines places. We don't know. Someone like Villa could get a massive injury crisis soon, and they could completely drop off. You never know what happens in the Premier League, and now United are getting so many key players back, the likes of Casemiro, the likes of Martinez, the likes of Luke Shaw as well. And when Mason Mount comes back as well, whether what you think about Mason Mount or not, personally, I'm going to give him a chance. But at the end of the day, I feel like that United can definitely still compete for top four. We're out of Europe, so the only other cup that we're in now is the FA Cup. So we don't have to worry about many midweek games. We can focus on the FA Cup and the Premier League now. So hopefully we can get something. But if I was to predict now, I'd say United would finish sixth. But you never know. You never know the impacts that Casemiro and other players could have. At United.
Yeah, of course, mate, of course. And I think, like you said, it's definitely that a couple of teams have had really bad injury crises this year. Some have ridden their luck, like Villa. Newcastle were riding their luck and then decided to rent out an A&E department for about 6 months. Spurs have decided that their physio staff are not going to get anyone back anytime soon. And then we have mystery ones, and United are the same. So, I mean, Luke, where's your thoughts? One, looking forward through the second half, and then also looking forward to seeing how we're going to recover players in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah, so second half of the game today, I thought it was pretty dull, as second halves go. We started the second half well. United seemed to, first 20 minutes or so, United kind of really stepped it up and played exactly how teams should play against Spurs when they play this, Ange ball as they do. They pressed high, they didn't allow any time on the ball. But everybody that's done it to Spurs have stopped doing it. Arsenal did it to us. They stopped doing it. So many teams throughout the season have done it. And again, United did it. And I just felt like getting an early goal in the second half really should have turned the tables in the game. We really should have put the hammer down and scored 2 or 3 more. But if we look at chances in the second half, United probably have more chances to win it in the second half than we have. If you look back in the last 5 minutes of the game, even moments where there was balls lifted over the top, for Højlund to run onto. Garnacho had a chance towards the end. I just felt like
got at the end for Haaland as well. It's a big
Yeah.
one that should be going to the back of the net. Not being funny, so it's a huge.
Exactly. So
yes,
we were the better side.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were the better side. We played better. United started off better, but I feel like both sides could look at this as a missed opportunity. United, I don't know, Dan, but United probably look at it and say probably a fair result, rather than look at it and go kind of missed opportunity. But I definitely think it was a missed opportunity to win the game today.
Yeah, I agree. Like I just said, I think it's a lucky point from United. Spurs completely dominated us, and United, like you've just said, and like I said earlier in the stream, both teams could have a chance to win the game, but both teams just weren't clinical enough. And stats don't lie. There was a moment, I think it was in the 60th minute or something. Spurs had, I think it was 82% possession. United had 18 in the second half. It was complete domination from Spurs, but I don't even know, in the midfield, I don't even know what happened in that second half. I don't know how Spurs didn't score a third, to be honest. There was no massive chances where Onana had to make a very good save or anything like that. I just felt like you guys were very wasteful in your chances as well. And if you were a bit more clinical, you could have definitely scored a third or maybe even a fourth.
I think it's like you said.
Brennan Johnson didn't help, but I think he was wasteful. I think today.
Yeah.
He wasn't great, was he? He had a lot of the ball throughout the whole first and second half, and he either got crosses blocked off, he ran into dead space, and I don't want to bring comparisons to Lucas Moura, but this performance sort of had that air about it where he does a lot of running, but a lot of running into dead space, that there was nothing there to be gained from it. And it's one of them where Johnson's young. He's 22, 23. He's got a lot of potential behind him. And I know this will probably polarise opinions with what I'm going to say, but you know that you're going to spend more with an English premium on it, up to 50 million like we did pay, because he's Welsh. He's homegrown. But I think for someone who has been established in the Premier League like him, I was hoping for a little bit more by now. And I know it's only been 6 months, but with how it's been, he can be headless chicken. He can run around like nothing. And it's the stage of going from a good player, like he is, probably a good squad option, to taking it to be an important player in the squad, to actually be one of the first timers. And consistency is going to be consistency and effectiveness is what he's going to need to work on, because I don't think he's there at the moment. And if Kulu was playing, then he needs to go and all that. So, yeah. We'll definitely need to see something better. But Luke, what's your thoughts on Johnson today, mate?
In general, I think Brennan Johnson is an absolutely fantastic footballer, and I think he could be sensational for Spurs. Today, I felt like he was poor, but I'm putting that mainly on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because I felt like he was pretty decent defensively for United today. He didn't give Brennan Johnson a sniff. He was fast on him. He pressed him hard. He got his blocks in when he needed to. He pressed out of defence into attack to help Marcus Rashford when he needed to. And I think that's why Brennan Johnson didn't look so good. I think like at the moment, Brennan Johnson is feeling the stress of it. He's snatching at some of his chances. He's snatching at some of his crosses and things like that. And I think that's really it. I think, you can't sit here and start slagging players off because they've been here a few weeks and been thrown in the deep end, and and can't handle it as much as you want them to, because that's just not how life works. Some players go through phases, and I think that's just what's happening.
Exactly, mate. So, H, obviously, I saw you nodding with a lot of Luke's points and all that. So I think that probably you're going to disagree with a lot of my views, but obviously I'm usually quite moderate, but I feel quite strongly on this.
Yeah.
So, where are you standing, mate?
Listen, I spent a lot of time this month personally defending Johnson against other Spurs YouTubers, etc. And I've had some interesting debates and discussions. And I feel that there's this thing, and I'm hoping maybe Dan could give me some insight on this. Maybe it's similar at Man United. It's certainly the same at my club. I obviously only follow Tottenham, obviously. But there's this situation where fans have got to have a player to turn around and blame when results don't go away. We've seen it be Højbjerg. At times, we've seen it be Dyer over the years. We've seen it be Richarlison. People now coming around to Richarlison. Johnson seems to be the next one. Skip's had these periods. It's always someone. It was Lloris last season. Someone to blame. And you can ask questions of players, but to personally single out a player and Luke says that the abuse, etc., just isn't needed at this moment in time. I'm going to be honest, as someone who likes Johnson, it was probably, for me, his worst performance in a Spurs shirt today in terms of he wasn't effective and everything. Pretty much everything he tried didn't come off. But he put a shift in. He got stuck in. He was up against someone in Wan-Bissaka who I didn't expect to see him on the left, who's very good in his position, again, as Luke says, as well nodded. I completely agree. But, he's in the team for a reason. He works hard. He suits the system. He has the pace. It just, for me, isn't the end product. Callum is spot on. He's young. And this is something that can be worked on. But I think he's, again, Luke, as you say, he's snatching at chances. I think he's worrying about that. No end product. Again, that's the pressure that some fans put on him. As far as I'm concerned, forget this game. He's performing. There just isn't that end product, but he'll come over time. Timo Werner, I think he's going to be a player who will eventually be an impact player. For now, I think will be good, but he's not going to be on the score sheet every week. But he's going to be impacting the game. His pace is going to suit the system. He's going to help individuals around him. He's going to help the team to be able to win, but he just might not be in particular the one who scores, and I think that's okay. So for me, Johnson, the right player for Tottenham. Of course, I think, again, the price tag, by the way, so it's a big thing that comes under it. Is he worth that? Probably not. Doesn't matter, though. For me, he's a good player, can play multiple positions, good bit of business, and get behind him. He's one of our players.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? Is that he's had to play left wing, right wing, left wing, right wing. It's never easy to settle down. But Dan, what are your thoughts on Aaron Wan-Bissaka's impact today? Do you think he did play well? Looking at it from your side of things.
I did actually, considering when the players first lined up and Dalot was on the right and Wan-Bissaka was on the left, I was very confused because when I saw the starting lineup, I was like, oh, it's going to be like normal, Wan-Bissaka on the right, Dalot on the left. But when I saw Wan-Bissaka on the left today, I was like, okay, this is new. But I felt like, considering Wan-Bissaka hardly uses his left foot is very weak. He did really well and kept Brennan Johnson very quiet. I mean, Brennan Johnson's a very good upcoming player, like Harry said. He loves to get in behind the defensive lines. He's very quick. He's very, I do think he's a bit impatient at times, but obviously that will come as he develops and gets a lot more mature as he plays more football for Spurs. But yeah, I feel like Wan-Bissaka, I mean, I'm just having a debate here with Simon Davis here because he's saying that
I saw that.
The future. But when the players over 25, 26, I don't think you can consider them for the future. And with Wan-Bissaka, I just feel like that with Wan-Bissaka, he's the best one-on-one defender in the world when it comes to being a fullback.
Always has been.
Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant. I mean, Simon said it here. He's like Spider-Man on acid, which I really like, that type of comment. But with Wan-Bissaka, I just feel like that he had a very good game today. That's what Wan-Bissaka's all about. And this is where United have such a massive issue at right back because we've got two brilliant right backs in Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. But which player would you rather? Would you rather Dalot, who's a lot more comfortable going forward, and kind of lacks that defensive awareness, or would you rather someone like Wan-Bissaka, who's very solid defensively but struggles going forward? It really depends on how Ten Hag wants to use his system.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, obviously, it ended 2-2, and I think that most of us would have hoped for a Spurs win. Dan would have hoped for a Man United win as well. So, if I throw up our scores of how we all predicted it from last week, because I think only 2 people had at least any luck out of the 5 of us with our predictions.
Correct, yeah.
So we throw it up there. So obviously Luke went 3-2, Winnie went 1-1, Dave went 2-0, Spurs, I went 2-1, and H, you went for a 1-1 draw. So from that, Winnie and H, luckily got a point, thankfully. So at least someone got something, because once again, I've done absolutely atrociously on predictions, and the score predictor table came out like this. So gives Luke, as always, leading from the front on 20, Winnie in a close 18 behind, Dave and Harry on 14 in the middle of the pack, and me, I've fallen over at the first hurdle and I'm ready to be put down and taken to Tesco's to be made into lasagna or burgers. So,
Bit like FPL, Callum.
oh, don't. Obviously, a new thing that we are doing was star player as well. So Luke went Richarlison, Winnie went Van der Ven, Dave went Brennan, I went Kulu, and Harry, you went Garnacho. I think out of all of them, I would probably say Luke would have come out on top as well on that, or Van der Ven. Garnacho did have a good game within reason for United, but not great. So in terms of how it went, I think all the hosts definitely struggled one way or another in some respects on there. And like the result,
I nearly had the best week ever. I nearly had a I had 3-2 prediction. I was as close as you can get probably to that, and I went for a Richarlison star player. I felt I got both of those over the line. I'd have been.
Yeah, you was close.
You're quite jammy anyway, so it wouldn't surprise me if you got. You're quite good with score predictions. I have my eye on second place in the table at the moment. Callum, yeah, FPL.
Your eyes for first, sorry. You don't accept second. You know that's why you haven't won anything for so long.
Are you?
Oh.
Well, Luke's good at his predictions. He always predicts the Spurs win, so it's mostly going to happen. Whereas I could be quite negative. Like I was thinking, as close as we got to the game, I was like, oh, we're losing this. So that's what will cost me, Dan.
So Luke, just to ask, sure. Thomas said here in the chat about please someone explain star player, as I wasn't here last week, but I just said in the comments, I assume that it's the key player for a certain match, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, so the week in advance, we try and predict who we think is going to be the best player. The fun thing behind it is obviously you don't know if they're even going to play, they're even going to start, they might get injured in training, but it's just to kind of see who you think might be the impact player for either team in the next game, and then you can see kind of who it might be. So Callum went for Kulusevski, and he wasn't even in the squad, so he's got no chance, does he?
That's it, Callum.
See you later, H. You're going from the stream, mate. See you later. No, that's the thing. It's all a bit of fun. It's just to try and sort of see who we think's on the best form, who we think's going to do great in the matches, and obviously Richie came out as probably the best out of all the ones that we chose because of the goal that he scored. And I don't think anyone expected Bentancur to get man of the match today, to be honest, either. So
no, I think it was great, to be honest, apart from the goal, but I'll take it. Why not?
I think he marshalled it quite well as well. But I mean, Dan, who would you have gone for your star player? If let's throw it out to Dan, who would you have thought your star player was today for United?
Well, the evidence is there. Me and Harry did a preview together on my channel, and I turned around and said that it'd either be Garnacho for United or Richarlison for Spurs. That's what I said. I mean, I don't know who you could say the key player was. For me, I'd say that the best player for you today was either Udogie or Porro. I'd say that they were your best players. And for United, I'd say probably, I don't even know. I can't even name it. The best player for United, maybe Rashford or Højlund because of the goal. Yeah, but I can't really pick out a player that really dominated the performance today because we got our pants pulled down today.
What a wonderful image to imagine someone getting pantsed.
Should we have a little bit of FPL chat?
I'd really rather not, but you can have it if you want to.
I've got it all in front of me. So, for those of you that are part of our FPL group, you can still join. We'll let you know the code and so on.
My invitation got lost in the post.
But Dave is still top of the league with 1,177 points.
So jammy.
He scored 37 so far, well, according to what I can read from here.
There's only 4 bloody games this weekend, isn't there, anyway?
Yeah, the next host is Winnie in 7th with 1,111 points. I am ninth
Go on,
with 1,062 points. Harry Scarf is 13th, 1,016
I've
points.
dropped. I was
Callum-
11th, and I was catching 10th. What's going on?
See,
And,
in my FPL chat, in my FPL team, I've got 1,031. So where would I fit on yours?
1,031.
You'd be 11th.
I'll be 11th.
11th, yeah.
I spent too much money on
then-
too much money on transfers.
Callum is 16th with 909 points. Could be worse if Thomas, who's in the chat, has only got 284 points. So I think you just joined too late, Thomas.
Yeah. But I've got a question. I don't know if any of you know this around FPL. So obviously, I could Kulusevski in my team, and he didn't play, got 0. So does he get transferred out? And I get points for Gibbs White, who I have on the bench, the other midfielder.
Oh yeah. So they got the F. So the player
It'll
doesn't
go
play.
to your first sub, whoever your first sub is.
What do you mean first sub?
So your first sub. So right now I've been absolutely pants down because I've got Trent out, I've got so many West Ham players out, and I've got my entire bench out as well after Pickford. So I used all my transfers on Bowen and Kufal before then he got injured. So
on bench got Edison, Walker, Gibbs White, and Mavropanos.
Walker would replace Kulusevski.
Oh, 6 points. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I think
so it goes to whoever. So it's always good to sort your bench out because then whoever the first person is will go in if somebody is out.
Excluding the goalkeeper.
Yeah, the goalkeeper doesn't matter. They're going to put 2 goalkeepers in.
That's what I was thinking.
What you have to think about as well this week is there's only been 4 fixtures this weekend, haven't they, on Premier League?
It's next weekend, though. It rolls on to next weekend, I believe.
It does roll on, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Same game
for a minute.
So you never know. I might be ended up getting at least 1 point next weekend, but we will see. We will see.
I'm going to take Watkins out soon. For me, whenever I put him in, he's not delivering. The amount of times I captain him, I didn't this week. I went with Cole Palmer, and that actually worked out quite nicely.
He's got more points than Ireland this season. I'm keeping him in, to be honest.
I'm going to take when we got Son on that back, and we got players back from the AFCON, and Watkins is going for me.
Well, that's what I don't know what to do because I've got Son and Salah on my bench because obviously with them going off to
just keep them.
So I don't know.
I got them all, but I regret that already. But
so
anyway,
just a last little bit from me, Luke. So obviously this week we did see 3 transfers mainstream with Spurs out of the first team and into the first team, excluding Phillips, because I think he's more towards under 21s, and Matthew Craig as well, who was there. So obviously we did see Timo Werner join from Leipzig and obviously make his debut today, which was very good, and start out with an assist. We saw Dragusin come in from Genoa, and he didn't do too badly when he came on for the final 10 minutes as well. Going to be a good young centre-back from my point of view as well, with Spence going the other way of a optional £10 million fee to see how it goes. But there was an interesting article from The Athletic this week to say that his attitude and timekeeping is very much a suspected issue, and potentially we might be seeing him back in the summer. But I would obviously like to say thank you very much to Eric Dyer for nearly 10 years of service. I wouldn't say all of them were at the forefront and praise of Spurs fans, but I think he was a very dependable player. So obviously he's gone to Bayern Munich. It is a loan, which I was quite surprised to hear about instead of a permanent transfer, but it's one of them weird ones, like with Dele Alli. It's got add-ons mounted up as part of it. So yeah, let's think about, well, yeah, obviously that's our transfer roundup for the week. And as always, Luke, where can we find you on Twitter, Facebook, up somewhere in the ether on the Cloud9? Who knows? Where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, just you can find me at Luke_Park Lane on Twitter. But more importantly, make sure you're checking out both our channel, Southview Coys TV. So it's Park Lane Podcast on all social medias, Southview Coys TV, and also make sure you go check out Dan at Red Devils TV as well. Go subscribe to his channel as well, please.
Lovely stuff. And Dan, thanks very much for coming on, mate. Where can we find you?
Well, Luke's just said it again, but I'll happily promote it one more time. It's Red Devils TV on YouTube and TikTok. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I love speaking to just other fans from different fan bases. You know, it obviously builds connections, and you know, we get to hear it from different perspectives for the team you face. So yeah, I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you for having me. And yes, Red Devils TV on YouTube and TikTok. Thank you for having me.
Lovely stuff. And Mr. Scarthy, thanks for joining us. Better late than never, mate. You never know. It was always a pleasure to have you on, as always, mate. So where can everyone find you?
Yeah, thank you, Callum. Really appreciate it. Thank you for hosting. Yeah, thank you very much, firstly, for having me on. If you want to follow me, you can there. Harry Scarf 22. Go check out my channel, Scarfy Spurs. So match reactions, match previews, daily Spurs updates, match day vlogs, weekly live shows every Monday, 8 p.m. Getting Spurs fans' views, Spurs content creators and YouTubers' views, and also the opposition view, which we'll be doing on Monday. Got Alice Talks Football on for Monday, has a big channel herself. So I'm looking forward to that one Monday. She's one of 4 guests, so go check that out. And obviously, go subscribe to Dan as well. I've done a match preview of him, been on his show a couple of times, and absolutely smashing it. Not bad for a United fan.
Cheers, mate.
Lovely stuff. And as always, I am at Callum Stubbs 97. I do co-hosting with Luke, H, Dave and Winnie on Park Lane. And obviously we are doing tonight's show in joint with Southview Come On You Spurs TV. So thank you very much to Park Lane podcast viewers and Spurs Southview. As always, we will be back next weekend at 7 o'clock for a preview and see how we did this week as well. So, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
United, United, United.
Sugar.
Go!